Hey everybody, and welcome to my in5 series where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. B. Jammin since birth writes in with a somewhat cryptic question, but I will do my best to answer it. And if I don't, please just drop in some more questions, which I suspect will happen anyway. But B. Jammin says, could you use the P-6 to play these sounds into the M8? You absolutely can. If you go down here, you have a input level and a USB level, and I can immediately just start playing some sounds in. Probably not super helpful, but I could also interpret that question of, can you send keyboard information from the P6 to the M8? I did do a video on it, but we'll go over it again. Anyway, just high level, I've got a track here, and the first 4 tracks are playing content on the P6, and I'm just using the auto channel. It is channel 15. We can see here, this is the kick channel. I've just got some chances for a few ghost notes to play on the nth. It plays every 4th note or every 4th bar, and I got a chance for some of these things to, as I said, some of these ghost notes to play. And the magic is this external, and it's set to go out the MIDI port, which is the MIDI here, which is just plugged in on the back of the P6. And that is then sending MIDI channel 15, which again, I have set as the A channel or auto channel on the P6. To get the volume to come in, as I said, like it's just this input. I've got it set to E0 so that you can have the audio from the P6 coming back in, and I don't have to do any like fancy mapping or anything. And we can see if I just go in here, we get like a standard snare on the 4 and the 12. We've got, I guess it'll be 5 and 9, just because of the way it's representing it in hex with starting at 0, 0. Anyway, we'll come in here. I have a hi-hat track here, and then we have this re-trigger. So it will re-trigger sometimes based on this randomization on the left. It'll sometimes do triplets or a couple other patterns, but if I stop talking, you can hear it. So it's just gonna, yeah, it's just gonna keep kind of ratcheting there on the end. And then last but not least, that vocal, like the, I think it was bass was the vocal, but it's basically playing it. And then sometimes it does a similar re-trigger chance with a chance for it to happen. So it doesn't happen all the time, or we get different like patterns coming from that vocal. Now, if I want to record this into the M8, I totally can, but it doesn't have a resampling feature like you would expect on like the SP404 Mark II or on the MPC. Instead, what we have is the ability to play like parts of the song and then record it in, but we're not going to be able to, based on how I have some of the things set up here and configured, and just based on why the architecture works the way it does on the M8, we're going to get what we get. So if I want to record, say, the drum track from the P6, but I want it as samples or as a loop in the M8, what I have to do is highlight the track that I want to sample. I'll come into the pattern, and then I come all the way over to the instrument, and I had already created this new instrument sampler. You just have to have that. And as long as there's nothing in or loaded in, you just come over to, you'll have a record, you hit the edit button and come in. And if I start recording, because it's coming into the left and right inputs here, so we got the output coming into the input, nothing fancy here. We just tell it what row of the song that we want to record. We're already on the first track. So if I just go back to start and hit enter, it's going to play some of the other track content, but it's only going to send the external out for this one track, which is fine. And then I just hit edit when I'm done, and you'll hear it's just the kicks with ghost notes. So I can come in, I can either chop this up or bring it down if I wanted to, not a problem. And I'm just going to hit option just to exit. I'm not going to save it because I don't want to do anything with this. But if I wanted to, say, record the snare track, I just go highlight the snare track and come on over, hit record. And again, I'm just going to play the song row 0, 0. I just want that top row, and hit edit. You can see it's got the snare going. When I'm done, I just hit the edit button, and I would just come in and chop it to whatever the length is that I need this to be, if I want it to function as a loop, or if I just want to grab something because I want to do, and I'll show you in a second, what we could do and why I would actually do this. Typically, I would come over, let's say I want the hi-hats, because I got this retrigger roll, like, and it's going to change and vary over time. Maybe I want to change how this is going to sound, so I got to go back, option, back to this sampler that has a record on it, hit record. And now maybe I know, like, I want to do like a filter sweep, or I want to change the pitch over time. I can do that pretty simply. I just hit edit, and I can drop the pitch all the way down. Now, this is something that would be pretty hard to do manually. It would require a bit more programming to do on the M8. I mean, you can do there's ways to do this, but if you want that more like humanized feel where it's off time or something else, this is how you'd go about doing it. So you can see I got that saved now. I can now go do other things in the M8 to chop it up, use it as like a drop down kind of sound or a build up or something, and kind of recycle it and bring it back in. So be jamming. I don't know if that's what you wanted, or the next one, which is going to require me to do a little bit of cable disassembly. We will get into, again, I'm not going to save this, but let's say you have an instrument that you want to play on the M8. There is a way to do it, but you have to know something in particular about the P-6, which is the only way that you're going to get, as far as I've found, the only way you're going to get MIDI notes out off of this keyboard is to be in granular mode, and you need to know what your granular mode channel is. So let's go do this real quick. We're going to go Shift, Menu. I'm going to go scroll down to a G channel, not A channel. I was thinking A because we were just on that. G channel is your granular channel. Mine's set to 4. I'm just going to exit out. And as I said, I'm just going to disconnect some things. I don't need the audio here anymore, but let's say the reason why I'm doing this is, let's say I actually want to use this keyboard to play, because I want to be able to record how long I'm holding a note down, or what I want to be able to change pitches, and I want something that's a little bit easier to do than just basically Excel spreadsheet editing on the M8. I'm going to go to the MIDI out, and I got to switch this to MIDI, dropping everything. I'm going to switch this to MIDI in, get that switched over. And now, with that, I can play notes, but you might notice it's just playing the exact same note at the same time. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, and it's playing it to all of the tracks. Not super helpful. So, a couple things we need to do. As I said, I think I talked about this in a previous video, but we're going to go to MIDI settings. A couple things I want to do is I don't want sync in or out. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm not going to bother with control surface. I want the receive note channel to be 9. And the reason why I want that is these are already defined as bringing in MIDI notes for channels 1 through 8. They're already routed on the M8. And if I can go change it if I have like an external device that I want to do something very specific with. But in this case, I just want to send the note from channel 9 to the currently selected channel. So that means I got to go back into the P6, Shift Menu. I'm going to go to the granular channel, and I'm going to go switch that to 9. Easy peasy. I'm going to tap granular. We've got keyboard on, and now you can see I can play the notes, and it's actually getting them over here. So just to be able to show you how this would actually work in practice, we got the bass here. It's a sampler. Let's go. I don't want sampler. We want macro synth. So now you can see I can use the keyboard here to play notes, and it's working great in pitching things up. Now you might be noticing I hit D. You might be able to read here. It says D6. Or no, I'm hitting C sharp, and it says D6. What's basically happening and why it's doing that is because I have a scale set up here, which is C major. So there's none of the black notes or sharps or flats are being selected. So it's going to always force everything into C major. So again, like this could be, if you don't quite know your scales, the M8's going to help you come in and get these scales matched appropriately for the notes. And it's going to basically just reassign the note to whatever the next closest value is without being a incorrect note. So if you are in that, like, I kind of know what a scale is and I know how to move around, super handy way to make sure you're staying within a scale. If on the other hand, you're like, I know all my notes and scales and music theory, you might just want to turn your scale to chromatic, and then you can play every single note the way that you want and not have to worry about it. But the nice thing here, if I go back into the note settings here, is I'm gonna find it. The record velocity. So unfortunately, the P-6 doesn't have velocity sensitivity, which is a little bit of a bummer. But if you go to the record delay on and off, we can actually have it, like we can tell it as a setting to record the note off as well. So you'll get that gate for how long you held the note down. We also have delay, which will allow it, the M8 is going to try and quantize to the tick values, and the delay is going to allow it to be a little bit off of those tick values for how it's working. If that makes sense to you, cool. If not, feel free to ask more questions, and I can see if I can spend some time in the future. But I know this video is getting kind of long, so yeah, delay is important. And you can also do both, where it's going to select the delay for the note when it's going to start, and you're going to get your note off value. Anyway, all that said, I think that will answer one of your, or I think either of those answers may answer your question, BJMN. I don't know. Everybody else, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And peace.